Some giants are far more dangerous than others.
When Gaia made the giants, she made sure the gods couldn't overpower them alone. This is the one weakness of the gods. Wait, what? The gods have a weakness? That's right. It takes a god and demigod working together to destroy them, and some of these monsters are shockingly disastrous. Alcyoneus. Alcyoneus is a giant created to oppose Hades. His defining ability is conditional immortality. He cannot be killed while he remains within his homeland. No amount of strength, damage, or force can change that. As long as he stays there, he will continue to recover. This turns the fight into something unwinnable. Attacking him directly achieves nothing because every injury is temporary. The only way to defeat him is to remove him from his homeland, stripping away the condition that keeps him alive. In the story, Percy Jackson and Hazel Levesque confront Alcyoneus in Alaska, which is considered his territory. They are unable to defeat him through direct combat. Instead, they force him across the border into Canada. The moment he leaves his homeland, the condition no longer applies and he becomes vulnerable. Alcyoneus establishes a key principle. Defeating a giant is not about overpowering it, but about identifying and breaking the rule that keeps it alive. Porphyrion? Porphyrion is the most powerful of all the giants and serves as their leader. He is created to oppose Zeus, the king of the Olympian gods. Unlike other giants, he does not rely on a specific condition or environment. There is no condition to break, no weakness to exploit, and no strategy to outplay him. He possesses immense strength, durability, and the ability to withstand attacks from even the strongest gods. Even Zeus cannot overpower him alone. He can meet Zeus in direct combat and continue fighting without losing ground. This removes every advantage used against other giants. Without a condition to bypass, the fight becomes a direct contest of power that a god cannot win on their own. During the battle, Zeus is unable to defeat him alone. It takes both Zeus and Jason Grace to bring him down, combining divine power with demigod support. Porphyrion represents the point where the system fails, where even the king of the gods is not enough on his own. Ephialtes and Otis. Ephialtes and Otis are twin giants created to destroy Dionysus. Unlike most giants, they do not rely purely on strength or durability. Their defining trait is their obsession with attention, recognition, and spectacle. They treat conflict as performance. Instead of focusing on efficiency in battle, they constantly try to outdo one another, competing for credit and recognition. This makes them unpredictable, as their decisions are driven more by ego than strategy. Their abilities still make them dangerous. They possess immense size, strength, and resilience typical of giants, but their lack of discipline creates openings. Percy Jackson and Jason Grace exploit this weakness by manipulating their rivalry, drawing them into mistakes rather than confronting them directly. With the involvement of Bacchus, the Roman form of Dionysus, the balance shifts, allowing them to be defeated. Ephialtes and Otis demonstrate that not all giants are defeated through force or conditions. In some cases, their own behavior becomes the critical weakness that leads to their downfall, and the next giant removes even that weakness, forcing the fight into an environment where power itself becomes unreliable. Polybotes. Polybotes is the giant matched against Poseidon, built to counter the strength associated with the sea. Instead of controlling water, he corrupts it, using poison and decay to turn a normally advantageous environment into a liability. This directly affects demigods like Percy Jackson. Water typically enhances Percy's abilities, allowing him to recover, control his surroundings, and fight more effectively. In Polybotes' presence, that advantage is reduced, forcing Percy to operate without relying on his usual strengths. Polybotes also retains the core attributes of a giant, including significant strength and durability, allowing him to engage in direct combat. However, his primary advantage lies in reshaping the battlefield so that his opponent cannot rely on familiar conditions. During his defeat, Percy works alongside Terminus, the Roman god of boundaries. Terminus provides the divine component required to kill a giant, delivering the final blow after Percy has weakened him. Polybotes demonstrates how giants can counter specific domains by turning their defining strengths into weaknesses. The next giant removes even the ability to trust what is real. Enceladus. Enceladus is the giant aligned against Athena, which makes him a threat defined by strategy rather than raw force. His approach to combat centers on planning, positioning, and countering his opponent's decisions before they fully develop. He combines the standard traits of a giant, size, strength, and resilience, with a calculated fighting style. Instead of overwhelming his opponent immediately, he creates pressure through control of the battlefield, forcing mistakes and exploiting them quickly. This mirrors Athena's own domain of wisdom and tactical thinking. Because of this, defeating Enceladus is not a matter of strength alone. It requires coordination between a god and a demigod, ensuring that both power and strategy are applied together. Without that balance, he can continuously adapt and regain control of the fight. Enceladus shows that some giants are designed to win through intelligence as much as force, making them difficult to defeat even when their abilities are understood. What follows removes even the ability to think clearly, shifting the fight into a space where perception itself becomes unreliable. Clytius. Clytius operates in darkness, using it as both a weapon and a shield. He is the giant aligned against Hecate, which places him in direct opposition to magic, illusion, and control over the mist. His abilities center on shadow manipulation. He can obscure vision, distort perception, and create an environment where it becomes difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is not. This removes a key advantage from his opponents: clarity. Without clear information, even powerful fighters struggle to make effective decisions. Unlike giants who rely on overwhelming force, Clytius gains control by disrupting awareness. This makes him particularly dangerous in prolonged encounters, where confusion can build and compound over time. Defeating him requires anchoring the fight in something stable. Nico D'Angelo, with his connection to the underworld, plays a critical role in maintaining that stability, while Hecate provides the divine force necessary to meet the condition required to kill a giant. Clytius shows that control over perception can be as decisive as physical strength, especially when it prevents opponents from understanding the battle they are in. The next giant shifts the conflict away from illusion and into something more direct, but far more personal. Orion. Orion is a giant focused on pursuit. He targets Artemis and fights by controlling distance rather than overpowering his opponents. He specializes in ranged combat. By keeping space between himself and his target, he forces opponents into a disadvantage, where closing the gap becomes difficult and dangerous. This allows him to dictate the pace of the fight and respond before his opponent can fully engage. His strength lies in precision and persistence. Once he locks onto a target, he maintains constant pressure, limiting movement and reducing opportunities to recover or reposition. Defeating him requires Artemis and Rhena to coordinate their attack, closing the distance he depends on while also fulfilling the condition needed to kill a giant. Orion shows how control of distance can decide a fight before it even begins. The next giant forces the fight into close range, where resistance becomes the main challenge. Mimas. Mimas is built around resistance. He is the giant associated with Hephaestus and is defined by his ability to withstand the tools and weapons typically used against him. He is highly resistant to fire and heat, which directly reduces the effectiveness of attacks linked to forging and machinery. This limits the impact of abilities and weapons that rely on those elements, forcing opponents to find alternative methods to deal damage. Alongside this resistance, Mimas possesses the standard strength and durability of a giant, allowing him to engage in close combat and absorb significant punishment without losing effectiveness. Defeating him requires overcoming his resistance rather than trying to overpower it. Leo Valdez plays a key role by adapting his approach, while Hephaestus provides the divine force necessary to meet the condition required to kill a giant. Mimas demonstrates how resistance can extend a fight and force opponents to change their approach instead of relying on familiar methods. Hippolytus. Hippolytus is one of the lesser highlighted giants, but he still follows the same core design. He is aligned against Hermes, making him a counter to speed, movement, and unpredictability. His role is to limit mobility. Instead of chasing opponents, he restricts their ability to move freely, forcing them into controlled spaces where speed offers less advantage. This directly challenges fighters who rely on agility and quick repositioning. By slowing the pace of the fight, Hippolytus removes one of the most reliable advantages demigods have. Without mobility, reactions become delayed, and escape becomes more difficult. Defeating him requires breaking that control. A demigod disrupts his ability to contain the battlefield, while Hermes provides the divine force needed to fulfill the condition required to kill a giant. Hippolytus demonstrates how limiting movement can be just as effective as overpowering an opponent. Damocin stands apart from the other giants. He is associated with Ares, but unlike most giants, he does not actively seek conflict. Instead of embodying aggression, he represents restraint. His strength is still immense. He possesses the size, durability, and power expected of a giant, but he chooses not to use it in the same way. This makes him unpredictable, as his behavior does not follow the pattern established by the others. Damocin lives in isolation and avoids unnecessary violence. However, when he does engage, he is capable of matching powerful opponents directly. His defining moment comes when he confronts Tartarus itself, holding his ground against a primordial force. This action breaks the expectation that all giants exist purely to destroy. While he was created as part of the same system, his choices separate him from it. Damocin shows that even beings designed for a specific purpose are not bound to follow it. If the rule didn't exist, which giant is actually beating the Olympians? And don't just default to Porphyrion, explain your pick.